Hello and welcome to another edition of the Hooligan Report. I'm joined today by Bojan,
Hi, Josh.
and back from Japan we have Cookie.
Hello.
So we'll jump right into it, boys, and we had some pretty interesting results last weekend in the Premier League. I'll start perhaps with the Leicester over Swansea result, and talk about the fact that Gary Monk has recently just been sacked by Swansea, and get your thoughts on both the game itself and also that decision. I'll start with Cookson.
It probably seems like a bit of an odd decision to sack Monk. I mean, he's been doing pretty good. The game, again, I probably didn't see that much of the game because, again, Japanese bars, they tend not really care about Swansea, but they do care surprisingly about Leicester
Right.
or Okazaki, to be
Oh,
more
of
brutally
course, yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Leicester keep on plugging, keep on getting wins, which is probably what they need to do as long as possible because, again, same with Southampton last year. You just know there's going to be the inevitable drop-off, but they've probably done very, very well to keep the form going and probably, if they keep going, I'll probably say at least a top 7 finish would be the minimum.
How do you see it, Bojan?
Oh, well, I was glad that Vardy stopped scoring, so we don't have to talk about that for too much longer. But Mahrez picked up the slack and he was fantastic. Really, really good. Nice hat-trick from him. On Monk and Swansea, I think, I mean, hindsight's a beautiful thing, but they're really lacking just a striker who can finish. I mean, it's just purely that simple. Doesn't need to be an amazing all-round striker, but they just need anyone at the moment because Gomez is not getting the job done. He's kind of during the headlights whenever he's in front of goal, and Ida hasn't shown anything at all. So I think it's a little bit harsh. They probably, I mean, could they have brought in like an experienced assistant or someone to give them a hand? Obviously, recent results are not good. I think it was one win in 11 games or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a hard time believing that this was the only outcome for them.
And I guess, like you say, hindsight is 2020, but he had such good results last year that they might not have thought he needed an assistant.
Well, yeah, exactly right. And he's been at the club for 11 or 12 years, I think I read.
Yeah, I think that's
So
what
it's a bit of a,
references. Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit of a sad way for it all to come, I guess, for it to happen if they brought in a senior assistant coach or something like that. I mean, they did spend some money in the summer. Well, mainly I think they gave Andre Ayew like I think it was an £8 million sign-on fee to get him as a free transfer.
Jeez,
So
yeah.
they did. It's not like that they didn't spend any money, but maybe they didn't spend it in the right area.
Um, on Monk, do you think that I think it was suggested perhaps he stay at the club as an assistant and keep learning? Do you think he'd be um, up for that, or do you think perhaps he'd rather leave the club, or they'd rather he leave the club, or?
Oh, I'm sure they'd rather keep him around because he's kind of part of the furniture there. Wasn't he a player as well?
Yeah, he was
I
a
think he
player
was.
who I think came up. Well, I mean, if he's
Yeah,
been there for
injured.
10 years, he would have been there from League Two. So he's been there
Mm.
through all four divisions. And I think he was a player last season, and he actually was it last season that he took over, or the season before?
Season before, he
Right,
will go from Loudrip and then retired.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think he was still basically a player manager, but he just never selected himself. Unlike
Well,
a big-headed player at Manchester United.
well, I think the club would like probably like him to hang around.
Yeah,
But if I'm him, I'm sure there's and if he wants to really test himself, if he's committed to doing it as opposed to just kind of helping out Swansea at the time, then there's plenty of jobs in the championship that I'm sure championship teams would be keen on having him.
I wouldn't mind having a look at him myself. We'll move on then, and there are a lot of upsets to get through. We'll start with the early game, which was Stoke defeating Man City 2-0. And I remember talking about this on the podcast last week, and we thought Stoke were a chance to score a goal, maybe to get a draw if they were lucky, but they were very comprehensive in the way they got the two goals early, and then they just sort of kept Man City at bay. a pretty impressive result for Stoke. How did you see it, Cookie?
Again, pretty impressive for Stoke. I mean, they did keep out a pretty good side. They had a clear plan. They stuck to it. And probably two very important points for Stokers. Their form has been a bit patchy so far this season, I would say.
Yeah, it has been a bit up and down.
But then again, they have been Liverpool and City, so that's always good in anyone's books.
Yeah. How'd you see it, Bojan?
Well, this was really the coming out party for Xherdan Shaqiri. This is the player that I'm sure that Mark Hughes was hoping that he was buying in the summer. And he showed flashes, a few elasticos here and there, some one-on-one steals, but not the complete package. He dominated, absolutely dominated. And he's clearly got a very good partnership, not only with Bojan, but also with Arnautovic, because those through balls he played just cutting the City defence to pieces. Arnautovic should have had 4 or 5 in this game if you watched it completely. And yeah, they were well deserving of those points. And we've been saying it for a while now, but no company, no City.
Well, I mean, I think it's every game that he's missed this season, he has, they have conceded goals that he's missed when he's missed games. So, and I think they generally keep clean sheets when he plays. So, it's a huge difference with and without him.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I know, I think it was Kizza on the board said there had been some rumours of a fallout between Company and Pellegrini, with the reasoning being that Company he's not fully fit, but he wants to come back and play now. Because he think, just to kind of not save their season, but it seems to me that Otamendi's still adjusting to the lead. He put an absolutely horrible challenge on, I think it was Shaqiri, and then got him around the knee on the weekend. Probably should have been sent off, but he's still adjusting to the league, and Mandela needs his hand held, basically.
Yeah, it'll be certainly interesting to see how long he's out for. Another one of the big upsets, and maybe the biggest of the weekend, was Bournemouth beating Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea's lost a lot of games lately in this season, but I don't think anyone envisaged Bournemouth going to the bridge and getting a 1-0 result. Incidentally, speaking of the Mahrez hat-trick before, this was the second of 2 pretty poor offside calls I thought there were on the weekend, where it looked a lot like Glenn Murray was offside for that goal. How did you say?
I'm not complaining.
I don't think anyone. No one's complaining. I mean, I tipped a draw, so I'm a bit annoyed about that. But apart from that, just where are the wins going to come from for Chelsea?
Liverpool, maybe?
Well, they already lost. They lost to Liverpool.
Chelsea reserves. I mean, nobody knows who they are, so
They're just
Bournemouth really got abused in this game. Chelsea just dominated it. Just dominated pretty much the whole game. Pedro was fantastic. So it is the difference between Chelsea now and kind of at the start of the year, is that at the start of the year the performances were horrible and they're getting caned. Now the performances are starting to look pretty good. Hazard's coming into form. Pedro's playing well. They're just not finishing off the chances at the moment, but at least the performance is there, and at some stage results will turn. Hopefully it turns around June and they're already down, but we'll see.
Big result, and maybe this was actually the upset of the weekend, was Newcastle beating Liverpool 2-0. With Liverpool in some pretty impressive form lately, and Newcastle just looking dreadful. But they've had a good record over Liverpool recently, I think. I mean, is this back down to earth for Liverpool? Is it just a blip, or what is it?
Didn't Wijnaldum score the goals?
Yeah, I think Wijnaldum got the second, and he set up the first, because I think the first was a Skrtel own goal.
Yeah. It's just, well, you look at Liverpool, you'd say they've been in decent form, but reality is the odds are you look at it compared to United, which everyone says, oh, they've been out of form. United have still had more points in the last 7 games or something like that.
Yeah.
So again, Liverpool, they still lack higher end quality, but again, Klopp needs to work his magic, and he's probably starting to get into the groove of it now.
I don't think they need to worry about forwards or necessarily midfielders either. But if I'm Klopp, I'm going out and buying 2 new centre halves in January because in my eyes, I know Liverpool fans will disagree. I think Sturtle's kind of been on the verge of being cooked for a couple of years now. We know Lovren. If you exclude the price tag, he's no good anyway. So you don't keep him just as you spent 20 million on him, and then you got Saka there. If you get 3 good defenders, central defenders, then your defence will improve significantly because they've got enough forwards. They've got a few injuries with Ings and an ACL and that kind of stuff. But you don't just buy players. You don't want 5 or 6 strikers just because a couple of blokes are injury prone. But the weakness for them is defence, and Lucas just let one out and do his own thing. Newcastle well deserved the 3 points. Although Moreno's disallowed goal, that was beautiful.
Yeah, well, that's probably the third incorrect offside call of the weekend because he seemed to be well onside. Newcastle defender playing him on, and yeah, it's a very nice finish. And then last but not least, we've got United drawing 0-0 with West Ham. Just more of the same from you guys, or what's the story with this one?
There's something at United. There's something building, but it's literally
a Europa League charge.
It's still 1 or 2 players short. It's just lacking that extra bit of magic that a player provides. A world-class forward provides.
Yeah,
that's we're 1 player short of being a great team, but again, we create chances. We just don't take them and finish them.
Well, a player who scored on the weekend that Bojan mentioned on the board is Lukaku. If you're talking your 1 world-class striker short, would he be someone that you'd be looking at in January or in summer?
Well, the problem, this is not going into too much detail, but I'm not sure how many forwards this system would actually suit. And I definitely don't think it would suit Lukaku.
Right.
So I'd buy Lukaku because I think he'll suit pretty much any other bloke, any other coach. But I just can't see. I thought when Van Gaal came, beautiful, Van Persie. They had him in the World Cup, would be perfect. But the system kind of didn't suit him, and obviously he had a few injuries as well. But I'm not sure Lukaku's the answer per se this season. In terms of scoring goals, Tutti's absolutely right. We do create chances and we haven't been able to finish them consistently enough, but we're still not creating enough chances. So we have chances to win the game, but if we created more chances, we'd obviously have a greater chance of winning these games. Really struggling in terms of squad depth now. I think we had 6 or 7 of we'll talk about it in a bit, but the Champions League first team were under 20 years old, and under 20 years old and academy players. So there's just too much experience out, and particularly defensively. So without good first team defensive players, we're playing even more defensively.
Yeah.
We essentially need to go out, get either Lewandowski, Muller, just chuck whatever one. If it's £100 million, pay it. Or get Griezmann, just get a forward who can hold the ball up, make runs in behind, create his own chances at times, and bring wingers into play.
We've got Wilson.
Well, we'll talk about the championship a bit later, but we'll move on then and talk about the Champions League now, and we'll start with you guys getting knocked out. And it was a pretty brutal way to get knocked out, to be honest. I mean, I was watching the PSV game, and as you guys scored, PSV had just equalised, I think, and then they went on and won it as you conceded again to Wolfsburg and knocked you out of the Champions League. Um, you're now you're the only one of the four English sides that have been knocked down to the Europa League, and how does that feel? As a serious question, as a former giant of, constantly
Well,
up there challenging for the Champions League,
let's face it.
even Chelsea got through.
After the first Champions League match day,
Yeah,
it did not look like our year. I mean, Luke Shaw breaking his leg, it's going to go downhill from there.
yeah.
And it kind of did. So, yeah, I mean, the two PSV games is where we really threw it away. I mean, if Luke Shaw remained fit, we blitz. Well, we're probably top of the league. I mean, Luke Shaw is that important to our attacking play, which is a bit sad. But again, it's just the two PSV games. They killed us more than the Wolfsburg game. And CSKA Moscow away as well. So
we're just not. Well, in terms of the Wolfsburg game, that was typical of a young team. We score, concede straight away, and then conceded straight away again. Got it back to 2-2, and then we conceded straight away. You know how kind of young and experienced teams, particularly defensively, concede straight after scoring a lot. So I guess that wasn't surprising in hindsight. In terms of being knocked out, well, I've already spoke. I mean, I probably, it's a bit unpopular, but I kind of class the Europa League in a similar way to I class the Italian Cup. I just don't really want to have much to do with it, so I'd like them to play the kids. There's not too much in it for us.
Which kids would those be? Because aren't most of them playing week in, week out at the moment?
Well, I was just going to come to that. In fact, funnily enough, our under-9... They do this strange thing with the Champions League at youth level. They haven't... it's an under-19s comp. So it's kind of under-18s, under-16, and if you're 20, you can't play, and all this kind of rubbish. So I'd be happy for them... But they got knocked out just by winning against Wolfsburg. I'll be happy for them to just play them and just play a bunch of 16 and 17-year-olds. Treat it with the complete disrespect. I don't care. We haven't got enough players, mate.
Yeah.
To be honest, we just don't have enough
yeah.
players committing to these pony second-rate Thursday night Channel 5 tournament.
Someone on a Hull message board was worried that you might be in for Diami in January because he's probably an upgrade on the options you have in midfield at the moment. Semi-jokingly, I think, but no, it's just you've got a lot of injuries at the moment, and it's the point I made last week about the sides challenging for the title, and the side that doesn't have any injury concerns at the moment is Leicester. You see how that pans out for them, but Arsenal, United, and City all have a lot of injury issues at the moment. So credit has to be said to Arsenal. I mean, they went to Olympiacos this morning and came away with the result they needed. They needed to win by 2 goals, and they won 3-0 in the end with a Giroud hat-trick.
Just wait. Before you get too far ahead,
Yeah.
let's just go forward to the round of 16 where Arsenal will inevitably lose in a humiliating fashion.
To Barcelona, won't it? Isn't it always Barcelona?
No, it's usually a German team.
Oh, German team, yeah, of course, because City will lose to Barcelona.
So yeah, it's all good saying, City got through and Arsenal got through, but they're probably going to go out next round and we'll be like, well, that was useless.
How do you see Chelsea going?
They'll bizarrely do well, then they'll go out in a stupid fashion, because that's what tends to happen when you're crap in a league.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Any other results to chat about? I mean, obviously the Real Madrid 8-0 is probably worth a mention, setting a new record, equaling the record for highest scoring Champions League game, previously set by Benitez at Liverpool, funnily enough. Gary Neville losing to Lyon in his first game.
Yeah, I haven't seen. I didn't see the game. I haven't seen the highlights. I know his brother Phil did well on the weekend to get a draw out of Barcelona. So the only thing I can surmise from this is that if Lyon are better than Barcelona, probably the best team in Europe at the moment. So tough luck, Gaz.
We'll move on then and chat about the upcoming Premier League games, and we'll start with the early game, which is Norwich up against Everton. Everton got pegged back by Palace on the weekend after being in some pretty impressive form, but Palace have generally had the wood over Everton, so perhaps not reading too much into that result. Away at Norwich, they should probably do that one pretty easily, I would think.
Yeah, they got Lukaku's in form, so does seem pretty obvious result.
Yeah, they should have enough against Norwich.
Fair enough. Palace at home to Southampton is the next game. And similarly for Palace, they had a pretty decent result against Everton and have been in pretty good form. And Southampton, conversely, have struggled a bit. I mean, they had to equalise late against Aston Villa last week. So I dare say it'll be a Palace win there.
So Palace, it's one of those real 50-50 games. Palace at home, so probably Palace.
Palace 3-0, they'll absolutely flog them. Zaha back to from suspension.
Yeah, good point. And Bolassi's in pretty decent form as well. He was looking very good against Everton. If you want to talk about a team that can counter-attack with pace, I mean, Palace just have so many options up the park that they can just break so quickly. Man City at home to Swansea. Has there been any word on who Swansea are going to bring in?
They've just got, I think, one of the assistants. I
Right.
think I think pretty much everyone but one of Monk's backroom men have been asked to leave, basically. So they're going to
And
bring in a new coach with a whole new kind of thing. But at the moment, it's just a caretaker.
did you see that Rodgers, who's obviously the favourite for the job, said that he had better options in line than Swansea?
Jeez, I hope he gets someone terrible.
I just think I wouldn't want to see him go back to Swansea because it's just sort of, you never go back in football, and it rarely ever works out better or at least as good the second time around. Um,
Mourinho?
yeah, well, I mean, I guess he won the trophy, but I get the sense that especially for someone like Rodgers and also for Moyes, if they took a job like that and Swansea got relegated, for instance, then that pretty much destroys all the credit that they built up, if they had any, from United and Liverpool respectively. That they've at least got some sort of aura of, having managed at a big club. That if they got someone like Swansea relegated, it would just be pretty much back to the scraps for them. I don't know if I'd see them taking the risk.
No, I think both those coaches probably wait till the summer. It's a lot
Yeah,
easier to come in unless you're desperate. I mean, the Swansea job, that's the kind of thing that Harry Redknapp will put his hand up for, 6 months of good coin and just
yeah.
see what happens.
City to win this one. Bonnie with a hat trick against his former club.
Oof. You expect City to win, so probably City 2-0.
This is that
Is that the Etihad?
Harry had. Oh, even without Aguero, they should be putting up 6-0.
Cheers. Mm. Watford away at Sunderland, and Gallo and Deeney have just kept on scoring, and it's an incredible record they've built up now. Sunderland at home, though, are pretty decent defensively, so it could be an interesting encounter. But probably just give Watford the edge in this one.
Yeah, I'll probably go for Watford as well. I mean,
Yeah,
Sunderland is also a complete mess. So again, Watford probably have just a bit more quality up front.
I'll give the edge to Watford. Purely, I mean, my big Sam will set it up not to lose and try and pinch 3 points. But I just think the quality of Sunderland's defence is so poor, and the partnership between Igalo and Deeney is so good. I think they'll win 2-1.
Yeah, I think Watford should edge that one. It's tough to call because I mean Sunderland even they look alright at home, and they didn't look terrible against Arsenal on the weekend, so it's hard to gauge where they're at. But you can't go past Igalo or Deeney scoring again. West Ham at home to Stoke. Lanzini's been ruled out with injury now as well for West Ham, so injuries are starting to mount for them as well, which might kind of slide them down the table a little bit. And obviously Stoke riding high after the win last week. Shaqiri's starting to make his mark, as you were saying, Bojan. Probably a Stoke win for this one.
Ugh, trying to think. West Ham tend to be very defensively strong, but they are missing quite a lot of key players, so probably Stoke.
Victor Moses is out too for West Ham, so their attacking threats will be fairly limited.
Jelavic might
And
get a start.
yeah. So has this been played at Upton Park or the
Ah,
Link
yeah, at
Ground? Was that one?
Upton Park, yeah.
Oh yeah, I can see some nice counter attacking play between the front three, Bojan, Shaqiri, and Arnautovic, and I'll back in Stoke 3-0.
Mm.
Bit of a
Going for a
guessing.
high-scoring
Yeah.
weekend this week.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
the late game on the Saturday night is your mob away at Bournemouth. Um, you guys have had scoring issues, but surely you're putting Bournemouth away.
Depends on how attacking we want to play. If
Is
we
Rooney still
attack,
out for this one?
I think
Hopefully.
he's back, but I'm not too sure.
Uh, well, Schweinsteiger's out too. He looks like he's been suspended for 3 games.
Has that been confirmed now?
So, well, they've charged him. Well, the rumours are they're going to appeal it. I haven't seen whether they have or not. But just assuming that he is out of that game, we're going to be really light on. And I think Van Gaal's going to not want to experience what Chelsea did last weekend. And I think this could be pretty bloody diabolical 0-0. I wouldn't be watching this game.
Jeez. Arsenal away at Aston Villa. Arsenal are becoming a hard team to read because they're looking pretty good, but they've got a lot of injuries, so they can be pretty inconsistent. And I think I was reading on the board that Özil had a tight calf this morning, and he got played anyway. So Wenger's not really taking it safe with his key players. Already got Sanchez and Cazorla out. Arsenal should beat Villa, I guess.
Yeah, you'd probably back Arsenal to win maybe a 1-0.
Ooh, just wondering if Giroud can score important goals 2 games running. Yeah, I'll back him in 3-0 Arsenal.
And then we've got
Very nice story.
very high scoring. Yeah. We've got Liverpool in the late game on the Sunday night up against West Brom at home. West Brom's another one I think that has a decent record over Liverpool the last few seasons from memory, or maybe that was a couple of seasons ago now. Should be looking to bounce back from the loss to Newcastle, but they do have Europa League tomorrow morning to contend with. I'm not sure if that's an away game or a home game, but Coutinho should be back for that. So, backing Liverpool in for that one. Yeah, it's away at Sion in Switzerland.
Yeah, I'd probably back Liverpool to win. I mean, they really should be, but you'd probably win 2-0, I'd say.
So Liverpool to win 2-1, but it to be a little bit uncomfortable.
We've got as the other late game that night. We've got Spurs up against Newcastle at home. I've actually got a mate travelling to that game, so hopefully it's a good game for her. How do you guys see this one?
Probably Spurs winning, maybe 3-0.
It's interesting because I mean, in recent weeks, a few weeks ago, they were quite high scoring, but after the games against Chelsea and now West Brom, they've been pegged back a little bit. So it'll be interesting for this one.
This could be the highest scoring match day of all time because Spurs are going to win 4-1.
4-1, right? Kane with a hat trick.
Yeah, Colaccini's pony, so I think if I was him, I'd just be sitting just off his shoulder because he's got no idea that bloke.
And then the big game of the weekend, which I'm actually genuinely quite looking forward to, is Leicester at home against Chelsea. And that could be a really, really fascinating game because if Leicester can win that one, it's very much stamping their credentials as at least a top 6 challenger. As you know, if they've managed to get a draw against United, and if they can get a win against Chelsea after beating Swansea last week, really sets them up quite well going into Christmas.
I'm gonna. Uh, this is probably would be the type of game where Chelsea just come out inexplicably win for some reason, and we don't know why.
Seems like the sort of game I reckon where Mourinho's going to do is park the bus and grind out a 1-0 away win. And he'll beat his chest and he'll cheer at the away Chelsea fans after Drinkwater slips in midfield and they pass the ball through to Costa.
Oh dear, Chelsea parking the bus away to Leicester. Who'd have thought that? I'm gonna go the other way. I think that I think Leicester are going to hammer them.
I agree. I think Leicester are going to win it.
I think they'll win 3-1. I don't think they'll be able to contain Vardy and Murray. It's just as simple as that. And they've got enough, I guess, competitiveness in midfield with Kante and Drinkwater, more kind of your workhorse types who'll cover the ground. And at the moment with Chelsea, they can see them their heads kind of fall over, and they, starting to feel a bit sorry for themselves. And I think they'll be overrun and outworked.
Tell you what, this weekend is going to be the most entertaining weekend of football that I think we've ever experienced going on those score predictions. As long as you steer clear of the United game, I think you're in for a very entertaining weekend based on those.
Correct.
We've just got time now to do a quick roundup of the championship because I'm sure you're very eager to mention one Jimmy Wilson who managed to pull Brighton back from the brink. There are a lot of championship supporters very keen for Charlton to get that win when they were up 2-0, but Brighton somehow managed to win that one and they're still undefeated, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I must say I didn't see all of the game, but certainly James Wilson, who was inexplicably loaned out, a quarter of the way through the season, despite him not playing any games, United not scoring any goals, and we loan out a young striker who's got plenty of talent. And in his first game, he beat a couple and hit the post, and in this game, he got the ball around the halfway line and just burnt 3 or 4 for pace, got on corner and brought them right back into the game.
Yeah, it was a very well taken goal, unfortunately. And then on Hull's front, it's just gone from bad to worse as we've dropped to a 2-1 loss to Leeds, which means we haven't won in 3 games now. And especially against Leeds, it's pretty galling to lose the game. Dawson is back this weekend, which I think should hopefully see us returning to a bit more of defensive solidity, where we've been conceding a lot of goals recently uncharacteristically. And your favourite David Myler should be back soon as well. So hopefully our form turns around. Yeah. We've got Bolton this weekend, and it's probably worth mentioning that Bolton have basically received... I don't know if they've actually received a winding up order or if it's just in the mail, but apparently they need 15 million just to be able to keep running until the end of the season, and none of the players have been paid for November, I think. So it's getting pretty serious for them, which is quite amazing because, I read an article only about a month ago that there was talk that their owner was going to wipe their debt and sell the club, which would have pretty much set them up financially. So I don't know what's going on down there, but hopefully everything sorts itself out as a near neighbour to Manchester United.
I mean, the last time I heard that just as you did, I thought the owner had kind of wiped the debt, because I think the debt was largely from him to the club, and he decided just pretty much to waive it. So whether that might not have been all the debt, though, I guess. It might have been debt elsewhere. But it'd be a shame, because it was only a couple of years ago that, they were doing well under Owen Coyle.
Yeah, under Owen Coyle. It was funny. Coyle left Burnley to go to Bolton because they were doing so well. I'm trying to remember who was the manager. Allardyce was there for a little bit as well, but I can't remember who they're... I guess they've kind of just gone through managers, but for a while there, they were that club that you'd look at as the, example of what a promoted club should do in the Premier League, because they were up there challenging for the top half at one point, weren't they? Top 7, top 8.
They were
for a couple of seasons.
The current day Stoke buying Champions League players. That
Yeah.
was Bolton. Even Campo, Hierro, JJ Kocher, Yuri Zhorkaeff. It was fantastic to watch these old timers just in the last couple of years in the Premier
So,
League.
I mean, hopefully everything turns out okay for them and they don't go the way of a Portsmouth, for instance. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Any closing thoughts, boys?
Score goals, win games.
Gonna have to write that memo for Van Hal. Just quickly on Van Hal. How much more do you reckon you guys can take before the knives come out?
Well, still a bit more. I mean, you can see the building blocks. Just need to all come together.
I'm more patient than most, but he'll be given until the end of the season, or the only chance he's sacked earlier is if it looks like we can't make top four. If that happens, he'll be gone. And then, ironically, Diggs will probably be caretaker again until the summer.
Unless,
one thing I just...
well, Guardiola
one thing that
comes
does...
available.
Yeah, so Guardiola's available likely be available in the summer when his contract ends at Bayern Munich. So there could be, that I don't think he'll be manager next season for that reason. And Ancelotti's very keen to manage United if you heard his interview.
Well, it'd be very interesting if you got
Telegraph.
Ancelotti at United and Guardiola at City would make for a very interesting Manchester derby.
It's basically been confirmed that Bayern Munich are talking to Ancelotti about taking over,
Right,
which must
okay.
mean they think Guardiola's gone. But Bayern Munich think Guardiola's gone to United, and they're trying to get Ancelotti. So it's all kind of strange, and yet Man City are convinced that they've got Guardiola tied up. I mean, people are complaining. City fans, a couple of them are complaining about Pellegrini, but the guy's got no job security. He knows he's out of a job at the end of the year. It's pretty much confirmed. But in terms of Van Gaal, I don't mind losing if we start playing attractive football. I'm getting a little bit. I've never had a time supporting the club for 25 years. That's probably not right, 22 years, where I've thought I don't really fancy watching this, and I'm trying to get to that. No, seriously.
Yeah, no.
If you're coming, this weekend, I can tell you right now that it's going to be a boring game. We'll try and win it 1-0.
Yeah.
And if we don't, it will be very defensive because the team's so young defensively with lots of outs, and it'll be 0-0 or 1-0 either way. And a lot of fans aren't as patient as me, and were saying that at the start of this year. But it's not great.
If City had a few more poor results, or if you do, and either Van Gaal or Pellegrini was sacked, it would certainly set the cat amongst the pigeons, because I think Bayern, City, and you would all be on alert for what each of them is doing in respect to their managers, because there does seem to be that sort of fight where there's three clubs trying to get those two managers. So it'll be very interesting if that plays out. But thanks for coming on, boys.
No worries.
No worries, man.
And thanks everyone for listening in. Until next time, we'll see you on the forum, and I hope your team wins.